Today, we got a story of revenge. Sweet, sweet revenge, baby. Let's go. Today, we have a story of a nerd who gets revenge on their bully. It's perfect. You'll love to see it. So sit back, relax, grab something to eat, maybe grab something to drink, subscribe if you're new, and let's call today's subscriber who submitted the story, let's call him Stuart. So anyways, this all happened when Stuart was in 7th grade. And there was a group of kids, and we're just going to call them the bullies, because there was multiple bullies, there was 3 bullies. And Stuart was a very smart kid, and let me just say, when I say the word nerd, I mean that with no disrespect. In fact, I bestow the phrase nerd as a badge of honor, because most likely that means you're going to go on to do great things and probably, get that bag as well. And that's how but unfortunately, in high school and middle school, if you're good at something, the people who aren't as good at something, they're not going to be a fan of that. But anyways, right, so the situation was Stuart, when he was in 7th grade, throughout the entire year, it'd be a group of bullies that would basically kind of extort homework out of him. What I mean by this is a group of bullies every single day, or not every single day actually, a few times a week would go up to him and be like, hey, I need you to do this assignment, and if you do this assignment, we're not going to, pick on you, we're not going to beat you up, we're not going to make your life a living hell, basically. So it was an exchange of services for protection, but the protection was against the people giving the protection, so it really wasn't protection. It was like when the mafia boss comes in and says, hey, do you want to buy some window insurance? And you're like, why would I buy window insurance? And then one of the other mob guys throws a rock through it, and he's like, for reasons like that. Or that type of, protection. So anyways, Stuart was he was kind of upset by this because he didn't have as much free time as he wanted to, because he was spending a lot of his free time doing the schoolwork for these bullies. So at one point he went back to his parents, and he talked with his dad, and Stuart was like, hey dad, and his dad's like, yes son, what's up? He's like, hey, there's been these kids who've been picking on me, and they've basically been forcing me to do their assignments, and if I do their assignments, they won't pick on me anymore. But if I don't do the assignments or refuse, they're going to make my life a living hell. And Stuart's dad, was similar to that. When he was a kid, Stuart's dad was some high-ranking professor somewhere. He was an accomplished man. But since, he had early interests in these fields when he was a kid, he experienced similar harassment before. So he kind of understood where this was coming from. So he kind of gave a few words of advice to Stuart. He said, Stuart, you got to make sure that all the teachers or anyone who can help you helps you. But also, if that's going to make your life worse, I understand, and you need to make the right call. And then Stuart's dad goes on to say, just so you know, this doesn't happen forever. What you have is great. You're an incredibly smart kid, and your life will be great because of it. The next couple years will probably be tough. I'll be here for you, but since I was in your position, I also understand that sometimes when parents get involved, it only just makes things worse. And, Stuart took from that was like, hey, my dad's been through this before, he gets it, and some things just suck. And let me just say that if you're in this situation, do definitely contact an adult. I'm sorry if it happens, life does get better, but there are people around that will help you. But anyway, Stuart decided that no, he was not going to be passive about this. He was not going to let the next couple of years go by and, kind of have no ability to do anything in his free time, to hang out with his friends, to discover his passions. No, he was not going to let that happen, because he had a perfect plan. Because after having a conversation with his dad, Stuart started to get angry at these bullies for extorting, for kind of using their power over him, their physical strength, their ability to kind of harass him, and using that as leverage to get something done for them. And Stuart wasn't having it anymore, so he thought to himself, you know what, I'm going to figure out a way not to just not do the homework once, but to get rid of this problem forever, so that I never have to deal with it ever again. So Stuart goes up to his room, he concocts a plan, and it's perfect. So this was close to the end of the year, right? This was close to the end of the year. And Stuart knew that the 3 kids that he always did the homework for, he didn't do their homework, he didn't do their class assignments, he didn't do their stuff, all their stuff. The stuff that Stuart did for them, he did really well. He got 90s and 100s on. But Stuart also knew that these 3 bullies were doing a lot of the work themselves as well, because sometimes it was just too much of an effort to go out and find Stuart. Also, they skipped class a lot. And because of that, Stuart knew that all 3 of them were very close to failing the 7th grade. Very close, in fact. And that Stuart was thinking, so close that if on their final assessment that I know that they're going to give to me, if I happen to do really poorly, they would all fail and have to repeat the 7th grade. And therefore, I wouldn't have to deal with them anymore. Because in Stuart's school, 8th grade was in an entirely different building than 7th grade. So if Stuart was able to make all 3 of them fail, then he wouldn't have to deal with them unless they went out of their way, and they'd probably just find someone else at that point. So anyways, Stuart concocts his master plan, and it's like the last couple weeks of school, and the bullies come up to him and be like, hey, you know about our major assignments in our classes, right? Stuart's like, yeah, I'm aware you guys have major assignments. He's like, you better do them well. You better do them on time as well, or your life's going to be a living hell for the entire 8th grade. And Stuart just looks at them. And he knows he needs to keep his composure. He's like, I understand, guys. I'll do a good job. And when they walk away, he just has a big old smile on his face. Real quick, comment bully down below if you made it this far into the video. I just want to see how many people made it this far. And if you want to continue supporting the channel, all you got to do is keep watching these videos. Like if you just sit down and binge watch these videos, it really boosts the channel more than you can imagine. And I really, really do appreciate it. Let me know in the comment section if you are binge watching the videos. As I want to say thank you. I haven't been super active in the comments, but there's a very special project that I think some of the OGs, like real OGs of the channel, will be very excited for. And I'm sure a lot of the new people will like it too. But it's taken up a lot of my time, but I'm incredibly happy doing it. So you're going to see probably 1 upload per day instead of 2, and I won't be as active in the comments. But trust me, it will be worth it. Anyways, let's get right back to the story. So anyways, right, the final week comes, and Stuart starts receiving major assessments, major projects, major quizzes for his own classes, and he's able to get those done pretty, he's able to do them well and do it fairly quickly because Stuart's a very smart kid. And that's when the bullies start giving him their major assignments. And so Stuart starts going through, and he needs to complete the assignment. He can't do nothing and hand it back to them. He needs to answer everything and not make it super obvious. It's not like they're going to check, but he can't just start scribbling stuff. He has to actually write stuff down, but it has to be totally and absolutely incorrect. It needs to be so incorrect that the teacher is going to pain themselves to even give a drop of extra credit. It has to be that absurdly wrong. It has to be like, what is 1 + 1? The answer is dinosaur. Like, can you even give 1% of extra credit for writing down dinosaur next to 1 + 1? I don't think you can. And that is the level of absurdity Stuart was trying to go for. So as Stuart starts going through it, he has a bit of thinking to himself. He's like, I know I'm in a bad situation, but is it really fair for me to fail all these kids? So Stuart goes to his dad. He sits down and he explains to him what's going on. And his dad is like, it's definitely not a great thing. It's not a great thing for you to do. But at the same time, these kids have been using you, and, how do they know that what you're doing is correct? They're literally just turning in what they force you to write. And Stuart's dad said, it's a little morally questionable, but I'd rather you do this and have at least a decent rest of your, high school experience or middle school, end of middle school experience. He said, don't tell your mom about this because she has a pretty big heart and might not understand where you're coming from, but let this be our little secret. And so Stuart, with this little boost of a little hope, a little push from his dad, continues on and finishes all the assignments. He hands them out to the bullies, and they're like, thanks, you'll be seeing more of us next year. And Stuart in his head is like, I really don't think I will be. And so sure enough, right, a couple weeks go by, and finally summer is out, and Stuart needs to find a way of who's going to be if they actually passed, if they're going to be his grade next year. Correction, it is not actually summer right now. I misspoke. It is the final or it is the final day of school. So tests were handed in 1 or 2 weeks ago. And, Stuart really wants to know if these 3 bullies are going to be in his grade next year, but he doesn't really have a way to find out. So Stuart is waiting for his dad to come pick him up. And that's when he hears someone say, hey, And the 3 bullies walk up to him very angrily. Because Stuart got his grade back and he got like a 95 on all of his assignments or something around that. And the 3 bullies said, "Man, you did so terrible on our assignments. We failed the 7th grade. We're going to have to do it again." And Stuart's like, "Oh, that's impossible. I did it all correctly. Did you guys hand in each other's assignments by accident?" And the kids are like, No, we think that you messed them up on purpose to get back at us when all we've done is protect you. And Stuart was like, "You've protected me from yourselves." And they say, "Doesn't matter. Protection is protection. And you know what? Your protection is over. And the punishment starts now." And in the middle of the bully saying starts now, that's when a car pulls up. And it rolls down the window. And it's Stuart's dad, who is a full-grown adult, and looks over. And it's like, "Stuart, time for you to get in." And he says, "Are these your friends?" And looks up. And the 3 kids look back. And these 3 bullies were bullies, but they were 7th graders. They weren't going to fight an adult. And they're like, "We got to go, man." So they walk away. And Stuart gets in the car. And Stuart's dad were like, "I'm assuming those were the bullies." And Stuart's like, "How did you know?" He's like, "Well, they kind of looked like the kids that I was bullied by and kind of gave the same energy. And I could just tell, man." And Stuart's dad said, "So, will we be seeing them next year?" Stuart looks into like the horizon, smiles, and is like, "I don't think we will." Click on the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it, do it.